I'm Kody Swanson.
I'm Tanner Swanson.
I'm Georgia Adeline, and this is The Skinny.
From Fathead Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. It's time to have some fun once again here on The Skinny. We've got a loaded panel and a new co-host along the way. Ken Stout, Rico here. We welcome Georgia Adeline to a co-host position here on The Skinny. And then two of the best to ever climb behind the wheel of an open-wheel car. For starters, let's kick it off with Kody Swanson, the 5-time USAC Silver Crown champ, 3-time Little 500 winner, also a Western States Sprint champ. And then his brother sitting alongside, that is Tanner Swanson, and of course he just broke the record here at Carb Night just a couple of nights ago. A 6-time winner now, broke a 3-way tie between himself, his brother, and Mike Bliss, also a Western States Sprint champ. But I'm going to kick the show off properly. I'm going to ask the first question to the Swanson brothers because it's an important one. Which one of you guys is the favorite? Because there's always a favorite. Come on now, let's go.
Kody's everybody's favorite, right? You know, it's not that close of a competition. I don't do very well for myself. You know, I guess trying to put myself at the top of that heap.
You okay with that one, Kody?
I'll take it, yeah.
By the way, congratulations on a very successful weekend for both of you guys. I know also Lucas Oil Raceway Park, of course, out there and at the fairgrounds, and things didn't end that as well as you'd like them to at the fairgrounds. But boy, qualifying on the pole for 3 of those races, you won your first USF 2000 race, so that had to be fun. And then Tanner, for you to go out there and break that record. And by the way, Mike Bowman is my neighbor with a drinking problem. He lives about 4 doors down.
Yep.
And really good friend. So I was really happy to see you guys have that success once again. So, but what an amazing weekend for you guys. And I think you started off, did you start off 2 races side by side or just one?
Just the one.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, so it was a great weekend for us, and to be on the front row or on the pole that many times was really good for qualifying. But unfortunately, the races didn't all work out to finish all the way up front like that. But it's something I know that when Tanner comes to town, you definitely have to step up your game if you're going to keep up there at Lucas Oil Raceway. So I'm glad to have had a good weekend for the two of us.
And something that I noticed, especially right off the bat at the at Carb Night Classic, Tanner, you got the win there, and you were physically upset after the race because you did not get to race your brother. Kind of tell us about that. You could tell the emotion in your interview. Obviously, you were happy, but you were a little bit mad there that you didn't get to race your brother.
Yeah, you know, I guess there's 2 sides of it. It's kind of nice because I guess I get to keep bragging rights here for the next probably 9 to 12 months before I get in a race car again. So that's nice. But on the flip side, you know, there's 13 months of waiting that he had bragging rights, and you know, you focus on that and you want to try your best when you do get a chance. And felt like we might have had a chance. Who knows? We never really got to duel it out. So spent a long time looking forward to it and didn't really get to take advantage of having fun with it. So a little disappointed, but hey, a win's a win, and we'll take them. They're hard to come by no matter how you get them.
So when you guys are pitted, where were you guys pitted at? Because I know that your dad's there. So where does he split the time? Is that where the favoritism comes in? Is that what we were talking about?
I was just asking the question. Yeah. I don't know. There might not be one. I just thought they would know.
You're always down at Kody's pit.
He's wherever the grandkids are.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now should we talk about the grandkids? And we each have 2 kids of our own, so it's hard to split it up that way. It's been really special between grandma and grandpa. I guess and getting to enjoy that grandparenting role. So. No, for the Silver Crown Series, we usually aren't pitted next to each other.
Yeah.
Since Tanner's been running for the Bowman team, and at that point in time, I was running for the De Palma family, and have since they retired, been running for Gene Nolan's team. Now his son Greg's taken over. Our Silver Crown programs are completely separate. So when Dad's been in town lately, and Mom too, they just enjoy being parents. So they'll come in and check on us a little bit and see how it's going, but almost just as parents checking in, see how their kids are doing more than really being involved with the racing program. So I think they enjoy that part of it and getting to enjoy the races. There was a period of time that when I was driving for the De Palma family, my dad was helping me on the team. That was when I was running for a title, and Tanner and the Bowman team got hooked up a little bit after that. And for about 2 or 3 years, Tanner was just beating us all the time, and I felt so bad because my dad's trying his best to help me, and
Was he really though?
yeah, I
really
really,
trying to
I
help
really
you?
believe he was because
Tanner's slipping him $100.
Yeah.
Keep it up, Dad.
He's an easy buy. Cody didn't know, but
no, I mean, you see, you feel bad because on one hand, his son lapped almost everybody in the whole field, and he's with me and feeling the dejection of losing
Of losing
and
to
it's
his
like,
son.
it's not really fair for him. So I'm glad we're in the spot we are now, that we both get to go out and try our best for it, and that our parents get to enjoy it. They put a lot into getting us to this point, and I'm glad that they're able to come out and enjoy the races with us.
Yeah, there comes a time, as parents, where you can step back to your sons or daughters, their program is successful, and you realize, hey, I'm not bringing any more to the table here. Might even hurt it a little bit. Let them keep doing what they're doing. Obviously, the success is there. And by the way, congrats, first person with 30 poles and 30 wins in Silver Crown. That's a huge number on both ends. Pretty cool. But I would think for your dad, he just looks at you guys and says, both of those kids are phenomenal drivers. They're in great programs. I'm going to sit here and watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think my dad is really talented in racing and had a lot of success driving himself.
I would say a modified driver, right, on the West Coast?
Yeah, I mean, he ran super modifieds, limited modifieds, one in late models, one in the Grand American or IMCA style. And he didn't retire from driving until I turned 16. And the way he did it was he was driving for a friend, Keith Williams, the dentist out on the West Coast there. And in the last year he ran, it was kind of one of those things where if it could hold the ride open until I turned 16, he could take over. So you can't have a more selfless example of what a father will do for us. And both my parents have been that way all along, to do anything they could to help give us a chance to move forward and teach us how to work hard and to try to make those opportunities ourselves. So he would definitely be an asset to any racing program still, but fortunate, with all he's got on the West Coast and still trying to run, our family farming operation. It was a lot of stress on him to be able to come back and forth and to try to be focused on racing, only getting to do it limited times a year. So I'm glad for the spot they're in, that they can come and enjoy it. But definitely, racing definitely hasn't passed them by. If he wanted to be involved, he's definitely sharp enough to understand it.
Growing up, is that what you guys did? Did you go to those late model races? You were going to those modified races. Were you helping him? How did you guys even get your start, going to the races and actually driving yourselves?
Yeah, so we grew up going, and when we were younger, he was racing super modifieds up and down the West Coast, traveling quite a bit, racing against Billy Vukovic and Davey Hamilton and those guys. And once I kind of got in the picture, once I was 2 or 3, he kind of stopped doing that, started racing late models close to home, traveling a little bit, but mainly at Madera. So most of our racing memories were growing up watching at Madera. And if you sit in the grandstands at Madera, you can see there's a quarter midget track off the back straightaway, and you can see the roll cages just as they go by. And so, I'm, I guess, persistent to a fault, as Cody would probably say, with my parents. And so we both hounded them for years and years. And for safety reasons, Dad wouldn't let us run a quarter midget. He didn't like the habits that you would learn leaning out of the car. And so they had a list of things that we needed to meet in order to drive race cars. And we used to ride quads at the beach on our Christmas vacations there in California. And we were getting ready for Christmas and went to a quad shop. It's the Steve Hamlin's, shop there in Hanford, and found a junior sprint that met all Dad's qualifications, and I hounded him until he let us get in one. So, that's kind of how we got our start. We didn't get started. Cody was 12 and I was 8.
Oh, wow.
I guess I was 9. When I was 8, I sat in one and they started it, and I kept shutting it off. I was terrified, didn't want to do it. And so we came back a year later. Yeah. And I finally was ready to go. But
that was kind of, and Taryn talked about being persistent, that by the time it actually got all wound up to go, they thought I didn't want to do it. And it's like, I still want to do it. I was just nice enough to, hear no 50 times and think that was it, and Taryn talked about the qualifications. We didn't run go-karts because my dad had crew guys that had been hurt without the roll cage. And when he come across that junior sprint, had a 5-point harness and a roll cage and things like that, we were able to get started. And that first year, we didn't race. We would go to the track every Friday and help other kids. that was Dad's thing. We weren't going to get started in this unless we were in it, and it wasn't going to be a whim. And he always would say it wasn't going to be his hobby. So we worked on the cars with him, and we worked on other kids' cars for a year before we were able to get one and split time, like we said. So then that night that Tanner decided he wasn't going to do it, he was in the chute. Well, I had put my seat in the back of Grandma's Durango and run down from the grandstands, and I thought I'm in now. So I got to have one extra race that fall when we got started. But
so this is 2000?
That'd have been the end of 1999.
1999.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's that's a lot of that says a lot about your parents and your dad. I mean, I've known your dad as you guys for a long time, and didn't know anything about you guys when I first met. Of course, I met Kody first, up at the 6R deal and all that, and that speaks volumes of what you guys do now, and because unfortunately, there's a lot of people that just throw their kids in cars, and the quarter midget thing, what Tanner was talking about, man, I still don't get that. I mean, hey kid, get in there and hang your head out of the cage, and I mean, I don't care how fast you're going. That's just a bad idea. Yeah. So, and it's teaching bad habits, and it's not realistic, right? I mean, you don't hang your head out of a sprint car, out of a Silver Crown, anything.
Not on purpose, anyway.
No. There was a lot of times that I had seen, I definitely saw that happen, but yeah, so that's cool. That's awesome.
It looks like the system paid off. If I'm not mistaken, you won your first ever USAC sprint car race at Anderson, correct?
Yeah, that was a lot of it, and I'm sure Kody can attest to it too. Was growing up, the motto that I always remember was, "This is not my hobby," and so the first year that we ran, I mean, we were
2004 in a sprint car.
No, and we started in junior sprints 2000. We were
I said in a sprint car, in a sprint car, but I know you started,
so that, we were bad, and we ran 7th and 8th every night, and Dad was fine with it, and then it was us that finally had to put in the time, during the week to get better, and so, by the time we got to sprint cars, we were lucky. I won my first start, my first national start, in like 2008. Kody, I think, won his second or third start, on the Western States back in 2005, and so, we were fortunate to have success early.
Well, rumor has it that some guy named Clay Klepper was your hero.
He was.
Wow, just stop right there.
Not Rob, Clay.
I know.
We grew up watching Thursday Night Thunder, and you know what? My favorite color was orange, and my favorite number was 17, and he drove that 7, that silver 17 with orange numbers on it, and was from Carruthers, which is 20 minutes from where we grew up, and so I was a big fan for just those reasons alone, and it's funny because it's gone full circle. They're Rob and Clay are second cousins of my wife.
You married his cousin, right?
Yeah, we're related, so I don't know.
Great job on that.
So.
They're good cats, and I work a lot with Rob. He threw me a stat. He said, "Run this one past him." He thought it was still correct, but 9 times you guys have finished 1-2 at the Silver Crown race at Lucas Oil Raceway. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, we've been lucky. I think I've always said, it's just awesome to be able to race at the level that we are, let alone getting to do it, with your brother. We shared a room for, 15 years growing up, and so it's just fun to be able to be fortunate enough to be doing that.
When that weekend comes up, how do you prepare? I mean, you're only racing once a year now that they added the night before the 500, twice a year, kind of that. I would say that Kody would give you pointers, but I don't really think that you can give him pointers.
No, there's that's kind of somebody was talking about. I was racing for one of the teams this week that Kody's raced for in the past, and they'd made a comment about me and Kody not really trading notes at all, and it said, it's not fair for the teams that we race for. They're paying us to do the same job, so. Kody obviously has a lot more extensive notes, but I still try my best to give them, a fair shake when it comes to racing that one time a year, and really start kind of preparing a month before and trying to get things figured out. But for whatever reason, we've been lucky to have success the times I've been able to come back.
Yeah, I mean, don't let him fool you as far as the notes goes. I mean, we'll be 5 laps into practice and he's top of the board. So it's not, and that's something
You're like,
that,
come on.
Yeah, I mean, sibling rivalry wise has bugged me since the beginning, right? As I spend all the time and I'm really trying to work at it and figure out where I need to be a little bit better. And he's had an uncanny ability of being able to hop in and within 3 laps be there, be to the limit, be past it, save it, and be right back to it. And will just continue to beat you unless you figure out how to get better. So I mentioned there was some time there as we were teammates with Team 6R for a little while, and that was the first time we got to run 1-2. So it was really neat to do that as teammates. And then everything since has been completely separate, enough to where we don't know what each other's stagger is, what springs are, different shock brands at times. Just going out and racing. But like you said, I mean, we grew up sharing a room. We raced together in micro sprints and a part of our family team at that level. To where there was a lot of years we did talk, and learn about each other's tendencies and how to be better. And I'm going to say, what I think Tanner turned 16. I got kicked out of the family car. We only had enough ability to put one together, and I'd had 2 years, and it was either time to sink or swim, either find out how to get your own ride or that's it, and it was Tanner's turn. And after doing that a little bit, we got the chance in 2009 and had David Rich was a sponsor and a friend that come alongside. We have 2 cars, and that year we raced together on the West Coast. I think out of the 10 races, we finished 1, 2, 7 times, and it was the same thing. Whoever got to the lead first seemed to win. It's so hard to pass for the lead, let alone to pass your brother and to do it in the right way. And it was, I felt like we both grew a lot in that year, because before then I was probably a little bit more reserved at the beginning, but would have good tires at the end and be coming strong at the end. But Tanner was so quick at getting through traffic right away and taking advantage of every hole and opportunity. He'd get to the lead, no matter how fast it was at the end, I couldn't get to him. So that was something that forced me to learn how to be quicker and more aggressive at times at the beginning. And same thing with him, maybe save his tires a little bit better to race each other. And as time's gone on, I think that's made us both better racers as we compete against each other and everyone else in Silver Crown Series.
Tanner, those things are fairly difficult to drive physically. I mean, it's a big car. I mean, you're going 100 laps. It's not a 40 lap feature. With only being in the car once a year, do you find yourself getting tired now?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. I don't know necessarily about as much of getting tired as trying to fit in my suit is a little bit tougher. So, this was probably the first year that last year was probably the first year that I really felt like I left something on the table. And this year, I spent the last 3 weeks, I lost 15 pounds and was spending a bunch of time on the exercise bike every night. And I'm always a procrastinator, so I guess I was trying to make the most of it late there. But it takes a little bit to get used to. I definitely noticed the next morning, there's just muscles that are sore that you don't use any other time.
And you were racing the next night as well. So
yeah.
Were you a little sore going into Saturday night?
Yeah, definitely. There's a little bit of Advil going on. So, every year that kind of gets a little bit tougher, but just keep trying to learn from it and getting better at that.
By the way, to Kody, I was not familiar with Legacy Autosport, but owned by Mike Meyer, whose great-grandfather, Lewis, was the first person, I believe, to win the 500 3 consecutive times, and you got them their first win on Friday night. That's
and one more thing
amazing.
About that, the milk.
The milk.
His grandfather or his great-grandfather is the one that started the milk tradition.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
really cool.
And I think that's Mike and then his father Butch have both been in IndyCar for so many years and had played their own roles in the sport and both had a lot of success throughout all sorts of divisions.
Because Mike was with
ladder.
Bilardi for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what
and Bilardi and Sam Schmidt. And
Yeah.
I know that he won the Freedom 100, as a mechanic for 4 or 5 times as a chief mechanic. And Butch was a part of Team Menard when Tony Stewart came to IndyCar. And would have been 96 probably.
Yeah, was he a tech guy after that? Is that what I understood? He worked for IndyCar after that,
He
right?
was, yeah. And he worked for Indy Lights as they developed that program and was even one of the head officials that oversaw incoming drivers and the initial drivers testing. And so as they had an opportunity to start their own team. That's where they carry the legacy name. It is, from their great grandfather and their family history in the sport. And I think they started in the end of 2018 with a USF program. And ran last year full time, and continued with the USF program, and over the past winter had bought a Indy Pro 2000 car. So that was something they were working on, trying to get ready. And as all this year has unfolded so funny, got a chance to get the car on the track one time, and that was with me there at La Crosse Fairgrounds in Wisconsin to get me a little rear engine experience. And I'm really thankful that they stuck their neck out to get me a chance like that. And as things had kind of developed, got a chance to look into these races, with Carb Night coming up at Lucas Oil Raceway, and Rico and Fatheads Eyewear stepping on board to support us and help make that happen. Got a chance. That was their first race in the series, and mine too. And so it was really special to help be part of that, to help get them their first win in the Road to Indy series.
By the way, I want to clear something up. I said consecutive first, three-time consecutive first three-time winner is what he was. So there's some wicked stat guys out there. So I don't want them sending me.
That'd have been the end of it right there.
Bombs for Christmas,
Yeah.
I'd have been crucified for sure. But yeah, no, it was quite an accomplishment to get in that. Do you have to pour a seat for that car?
Probably should have, but there was one that they found that fit
Close
pretty
enough,
close.
yeah. Well, I'd save you $2,500.
And we put some padding in there, and it's one of those things that you sit in it, and I feel fine. And then after you get to driving a little bit, you're like, oh, this thing transfers weight and load different. So, we were shoving padding, up until we started the race. Like, I think I could use a little more in this shoulder, and I didn't want to make, last thing I wanted to do was to wear out before it was over. But everything fit me really good by the time we got ready to go, and it worked out.
By the time before we went on the air here, you had mentioned that you had Dwayne Ellwanger spotting for you. He's a good friend of mine as well. But I do know that your wife also spots for you. So is it the first time in a long time you've had somebody else in your ear?
No, I've been fortunate to try a few new things this year, and one of them we got to start in an ARCA Series stock car at Iowa Speedway for Chad Bryant Racing, and at the same time, Jordan has spotted for me, and she does an amazing job. I think she's really first class with
Good answer.
with the job she does. Right. I really believe that, and there are people who have heard her spot for me that would back me up. I'm not just saying the correct answer.
Absolutely.
I'm telling the
It
truth.
shows
So
in the results.
Yes.
Right.
yeah, and but at that point, what we do and work together, for Silver Crown races, I have enough experience that I know what I need to hear. Trying these new things, it's such an unknown to me that I really, to put it weird or oddly, is that I don't know what I don't know yet, and so it's important for me to have a spotter that knows the ropes, that knows what to expect out of these types of cars in these series, and that definitely helps give me a little measure of comfort, knowing that the person up there has the experience that I don't have.
Yeah, and for the fans that don't know Dwayne, which I don't know if anybody that doesn't know Dwayne, just ask Dwayne, but he's a great guy.
Correct.
He's a great guy, but he's
super
a
guy.
spotter for Alex Rossi, so he's a seasoned vet.
Yeah, and he was great to have in my ear that whole day, and even the practice day leading up to it. Just everything from being comfortable getting on and off pit road and knowing where the other cars are at and what gaps I would have to try things and try to build comfort in. At this point, I don't really even know how to drive the car yet, and it was nice to know when I had the space to try to help myself. Teach myself or learn what to expect out of the race car.
Were you ever comfortable? Were you ever 100% comfortable, even 90% comfortable in that car with so little experience? You got the win. You did what you needed to do, but were you comfortable?
I felt like I started to get comfortable throughout the race. Leading up to Thursday, we had a few different practice sessions and trying to figure out the race car and how to gain enough speed. We started out, I think we were about 9th in the order, and trying to figure out what was missing and what was missing from the car and what was just missing from me. It's one of the things in any type of new car is corner entry. And is it that's how they're supposed to feel and I just need to adapt to that? Or is there something we need to do to make the car better?
Well, you were missing about 500 horsepower.
Yeah, we were a little short from what I'm used to, and sitting kind of funny, and there was a whole bunch of stuff going on there, right? Trying to adapt to that.
Thank God you run that V6 sprint car.
Oh,
At least you have some,
Yeah, at least the
some
sound is a little bit.
some reference point.
Yeah.
That's funny. I mean, the conversation he and I had last night, I hadn't talked to him since really, he won. And myself, Caitlin, and Gary Woodruff we were standing down, or we were on the hill and won, and I was watching him coming in, and something he said to me right before he went out there was, or I was taking him back to the paddock from the Silver Crown pits, and something he said, he goes, "Man, I just got to get used to pitching the car in, and diving it in there." And so of course I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm watching other guys do it, but I watch him. Was it lap 2, 1? Lap two, it was almost completely over. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
It's go time.
No.
No, it was. I mean, like things got. I was like, hold on a minute, and but the great thing about it was it didn't take long for him to adapt. It was so cool to watch him get used to that car and adapt to what that car was doing, and he was watching the line of other people. That the leader, although he was checked out for a minute, he wasn't checked out forever. So but it was interesting watching all that transpire. And I was standing up there, and I said, okay, if he's leading with 10 to go, we'll start kind of making our way that way. And Caitlin goes, let's go. He's got a 5-second lead. This isn't going to change. So we started our way down there, but it was a lot of fun. It was very cool.
Yeah, thanks.
So let's have some fun here. Let's talk. I mean, you guys are brothers. I mean, clearly Dad has set a bar. It doesn't sound like there's too much messing around going on. I mean, it was hard work, and you guys had goals, but you're still kids, and you're still brothers. There had to be some digging going on. You had to irritate each other once in a while, or you had to be pulling a prank on each other once in a while. Give us some of the behind-the-scenes dirt, man.
Yeah, I think I definitely lead the league in pranks and annoying the older brother. That's for sure. We were actually sitting at the house last night telling some pretty good stories of growing up. Most of them were, I guess, from us sharing a room for 15 years. We had some pretty good stories. I'll let Kody pick what his favorite one is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I don't remember too many pranks and stuff, but we would sibling argue, right? And I mean, to make it racing specific, the very first year we ran 2 cars, we were both in a junior sprint in the year 2000. Like Tanner said, we weren't very good, The thing we were arguing over was who was better, and we ran 7th and 9th. It's like it didn't really matter, Like why are we arguing over that? Except we were 12 or 10, and enough to where we almost quit. Mom was like, enough. I mean, I remember one night in the living room, that was the end. And we finished that year, and after that, we didn't race against each other until we got into full-size sprint cars, because that was how competitive we were at the time, and enough to where we would, I guess we would argue or be fighting or squabbling, even going to bed at night, and I remember there being a time that we were arguing across the room, and my dad come in, full stealth mode, and opened the door and like shimmied along the floor, and we're arguing. Pretty soon he stands up in the middle of the night, middle of the dark, and said, "Are you guys done?" Like loud, and all of a sudden it was like, "Oh,
had no idea he was there.
No.
Idea. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Busted.
That's good.
Did you guys play any other sports? You said you didn't start racing until you were 12 years old. By then, you're kind of figuring out other things to do also.
Yeah, I mean, we both did. And I remember my mom saying that we were going to be well-rounded if it killed her type thing, because we were going from one sports practice to another. I think I went from a state championship soccer tournament to the opening practice day in probably 2004 or 5 when we were doing that. So we never did play football. I know you probably can't believe that with our big stature.
Shocker.
Yeah.
You guys for sure could have been linemen. There's no doubt.
For sure.
But I mean, we played football or soccer and basketball and baseball, and played all the sports through school and coming up.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we did everything, the full school experience. Mom made us go to every dance that there was. we were all into it. We were
Looked
in
like
FFA.
Kody loved
So you're
that.
saying you guys can dance?
I cannot dance. We attended.
You drank the punch.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, we were in FFA growing up. Raised hogs, did it all. She even made us get straight A's. All
Wow.
through
Now
high
that
school.
just took it to another
So-
level right there.
4.0, grade point average, valedictorian. I mean, you certainly did your job in school, right?
That, like when we talked, from the very beginning, we were going to have rules to start. One of them for dads was that we had to work on it, but one of mom's was that our grades couldn't go down, and she expected A's. So
Jeez, I would have never got the race. That'd have been the end of that.
it was a pretty strong motivator. So
California State University graduate, President's Honor Scholar.
yeah.
That sounds like us.
I used to go to the dean's room. I never got an award for it, but
We were fortunate to have been able to have a full, well-rounded education and experience as I guess young adults and teenagers growing up, and something I think a lot of that translates to racing still. I mean, I think that my and Tanner's experience as drivers can be very different than what maybe what some young professional drivers are being taught. Is that I view it as being part of a team, and you're playing soccer, and it doesn't matter if the forward got past your other defender, you're the last line. You better get there. I mean, you're all on a team. You win together and you lose together, and you all have to pick up the slack sometimes, even if it's not your spot. So
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing. I mean, even us hiring, for any of our businesses, I look at that stuff. You look at team, people that are involved in teams, because you know what? They do rely on each other, but they also know how to work with each other to get to the ultimate goal, right? So it's a big deal. And you were talking about FFA. Of course, I want to talk about it. That's where he met his wife. So, I mean, there's an absolute great story. So, but elaborate. You got to tell the story.
yeah, I mean, I remember I was a sophomore in high school by the time I was able to have a market hog and to get into that part of the program. And Jordan was a freshman, and she had one too. And we met at the school farm. And
That's the cutest thing.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And
I wouldn't say cute. That made me good. Cool.
I mean,
Market
just say, I
hogs.
mean, you're showing a hog,
Come
and you see
on.
that girl over there showing her hog. And it's like, yep,
that's
that's the
cute.
one right there.
Yeah.
That's great, cute.
So I mean, at some point we went to high school together, and we didn't start dating, I don't think, till my senior year, but had been friends first. And I mean, there's so much you can learn through FFA, whether it's hogs or I mean, even through we had a lot of tractor work as part of the project, and a lot of the judging teams you can get on. You can learn a lot of different things, and there's so much of that applies to the real world and even to racing that people will overlook. So.
And that is one thing about FFA. I mean, of course, they have their national convention in Indy here. They don't this year with that one thing that's going on anyhow. But every year that they have that, I mean, it's just amazing. It the camaraderie and the connection with all of them. And I don't think it matters what state you're from. I think everybody
The hard
needs
work that's involved, it's what's taught.
It's
at a young
unbelievable.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, talk about market hogs. I mean, and not that's exactly like racing, but I mean, there's times when it's your turn to show and your class that you're up in, depending on what breed you had. I mean, everyone from the school is helping each other get ready. So whether it's whatever is involved in preparation, when someone's up that's on your team, you're all pitching in to help ensure that that you do the best you can for your school and for your buddies. And so, I mean, a lot of that translates over. We're all just trying to do the best job that we can to help everybody be successful together.
Well, you guys have beautiful children, and I'm sure you get this question a lot, but are you going to let them race if they show interest in it? And if you do, are you going to bring them up how you were?
You want to go first?
I like that.
I'm deferring.
Mine's
I
oldest.
like that Kody just looked right over his
I'm
head.
going to defer
exactly.
to the younger
Exactly.
brother on this one.
I'm always interested in that stuff.
That's what. So far, mine and Allison's discussions have been. Hey, nobody starts until they're at least 8. I think you got to get started in team sports and have a lot of growing up to do before you need to start getting in a race car. And so I feel like that's one of the main rules. And the second rule is we're going to give them a golf club and a baseball bat first and see how those go.
A lot more money there.
Okay.
A lot less money to get them going, and they can make a lot more money.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's kind of our rules at the
What
moment.
were you thinking, Stout? Robert could have had a basketball.
I know. Some guy said, golf is really expensive. I said, really? I said, you should have to buy a brand new set of clubs every single time you go out.
Right?
Yeah, no kidding.
That's it. I mean, the nicest baseball bat you can get is still cheaper than a set of tires. I
Yeah,
believe, right?
that's exactly
So,
right.
And in our house, I mean, we've talked about it. And Trevor, my oldest, he's 4.5. He'll be 5 just after Christmas. So the topic is coming up more and more regularly. But I think our spot is that I don't want him to do it because I did it, and I think that's the same way our dad was. That he didn't want us to push anything on us that we didn't want to do. So if that discussion comes up, then it'll be a lot like what Tanner and I went through.
That's how you're successful, because you know what? You did what you wanted to do. You took the path. You took the progression. And I mean, as I said, you and I have known, actually all of you guys, both of you have known each other a long time. Our paths came together. We separated, and we came back around. But always, always gentlemen, always the right thing. It was never, I probably could say this without missing a beat, that I have never heard either one of them say a coarse word about anyone. And I would like to try to do that occasionally.
It's not part of me. That's never happening. I've ruined all that. So
No
I
turnaback.
love the way your dad did it, actually, with you. My story wasn't the same with my son as his, but somewhere along the lines where, he wanted to go to a go-kart track. He wanted to go, take a look at some of that stuff. And I didn't do it on purpose. It was just, busy doing this, busy doing that. And we had some ATVs, and we would go riding once in a while. But he pretty much had to wait for a year. He had been wanting to go to this go-kart shop here for a year. And we were going to go ATV riding, and it turned out being snowy, icy, sloppy, freezing cold. And we're in the truck and ready to go. And I said, are you sure you want to go out here and do this today? Because it's nasty. And he said, well, could we go to that go-kart shop instead? I was like, yes, we can go today. So we went over there, and he saw it, and he just absolutely loved it and wanted to go. And I ended up buying it for him for Christmas. This was probably around October. Bought it for him for Christmas. And the beauty of living in Indiana, of course, is he got it for Christmas morning, and then he got to look at it for another 3 months before he could actually get in it and drive it, But it was making him wait, and again, not by design. It's just the way it worked out. But that desire inside of him to go racing was very high, whereas you're talking about making your kids wait a little bit. A lot of times parents are excited. They want to see their kids get in a race car, and they'll stick them in one at 5 years old. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing by any stretch. It's just not for everybody, but it's so easy for those kids to get burnt out. I mean, we were at the racetrack, even when he started at 13, we were at the racetrack every weekend, all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And, after a while, a young kid just is kind of over it. I want to do something else. And you start them really young, the burnout factor is so much higher.
Well, and I felt like at least one of the things that I took away was, like you talked about, it being our, I guess, our cross to bear, burning, our passion. It helped. I think parenting wise, they use that leverage a lot.
Oh, well, I used it for
against
sure.
us, and we saw kids that we raced against growing up that would miss a race, and it was, their grades weren't up or whatever.
For sure.
And it was just, that was never, we didn't want to let that happen. That was our priority really. And all the rest of things in our lives kind of followed that trickle down effect.
Yeah, and like I said, when we helped other kids getting started before we even got into it, it was helping establish that it wasn't going to be a program that we just started for a fad for a year, and it wasn't that there was this pressure that it had to go on, but that it was something that we were going to really want to do it and have to put the time in on it. A lot of the kids we raced against that were better than us or finishing better than us, they had a team and Dad did the whole thing, and his was that he wasn't gonna work on it any more than us. He was gonna match our effort. And so Taryn talked about that first year when we raced Friday nights, we'd wash on Thursday night and check it out and load it back up and go again, and then he would race Saturday, and that's how it would go. And it wasn't until it was like, all right, hey, it's Monday, we're ready to unload, we're washing it. Dad wasn't gonna wash them. He did one time, I think. And then he quit.
Yeah, probably.
And anyway, dirt track, we were washing them, and then it's time to start helping get maintenance and ready on them. And it just kind of helped build that understanding that and sometimes things don't always go your way, and there's a lot of hard work involved. And if you want to continue to be more consistent and get better, there's effort required. It's
Put
not
in
just
the
gonna
time.
happen. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, let's get the skinny on the bicycles off the roof into the pool.
It was not off the roof.
It wasn't off the roof. Well,
Who was it? Somebody told us the off the roof thing. That
I
was
thought it was Corey.
It
No.
might have been.
Someone's snitching on you guys.
So I remember the bicycles into the pool,
Yeah.
but it was off the diving board, and it was,
Yeah.
and it was Tanner and Corey.
Well, his story's way better off the
Yeah.
roof. I'd go with that one.
Yeah.
We ended up with a motorcycle in the pool, so
Okay, here we
that
go.
was.
It's even
It's
better.
easy. Yeah, it's easy to
That's
fish
where
the
we draw the
bikes out.
line.
Yeah, you can fish the bikes out, no problem. But when you got a little dirt bike and you launch it off in there, and then the pool's full of oil and gas, that's a bit harder to hide.
Whoops.
Black marks down the side of it because the tires. Yeah, that probably wasn't our smartest choice, but I mean, we were out there in the rain, draining the pool and scrubbing it clean.
Yeah, me and Corey, we were always down for a good time, I guess. So
they,
yeah, that,
they were 9 when we was talking about this.
Yes.
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
no, we definitely jumped bikes in the pool and rode them around, and
Polar opposites, of course, because Corey is probably still the same and jumping bikes in the pools. And
It's cool to see him still going and the success he's had. You know, I talked about that junior sprint that first year. I bet there were 30 of us, all that same age, and I bet there's probably 6 or 8 left
there's
still racing. So it's been really cool to follow as we went non-wing and maybe pavement racing that Corey has taken to the wings and had a whole bunch of success on the dirt.
yeah, and he had one guy that was somewhat his mentor, and I can't remember who it is at this point, and I'll think about it. I think he runs the 26, or maybe I can't.
Statler. Jason
Yeah,
Statler
I think-
ran the 00.
The-
And
yeah,
that was
00.
what Corey's
Yep.
number always was growing up.
So it's funny you talking about that, and I sent Carl the picture that I sent to Ken yesterday.
If you notice in there, it's Joseph Newgarden, Connor Daly, to the all the way to the left of the picture there. That's Jimmy Simpson, and all of them in there have gone on to win championships. Much like you said, you know, I mean, we were out running at Dismore's track when these guys were 13, 14 years old, and you know, going to Iowa this year, Connor scored his first pole in IndyCar, and he started on the front row next to Newgarden. And I had goosebumps talking about it, but I immediately went back to 2004, you know, and seeing Connor and Joseph Newgarden front row at Dismore's track out there in Newcastle, you know, in junior can, you know, running with the kids. I was like, oh my God, that's just phenomenal.
It's
you
gotta
know,
be
and,
surreal.
yeah, it was just really, really cool. And my son's gone on to win 3 national championships, sports car off-road racing. Needless to say, these 2 kids have done a fabulous job making it up to IndyCar. And
He got the Facebook Live deal that we did with Connor.
Yeah.
It was great because, of course, Ken had a lot of chemistry, or you know, a lot of backstory with
well,
him.
I mean, his father Derek helped us out right away. I mean, we were clueless. We didn't know what we were doing. When we had Lee Beard. Lee Beard's son was also very talented out there. Lee Beard, a award-winning
yep.
NHRA crew chief, super talented, and he was cool. He helped us out. Derek helped us out. You know, it was a pretty amazing group that was hanging around out there. You know, IndyCar guys and their kids and stuff. You know, hanging around out there, and it is special whenever you guys are in that mix on the West Coast and you grow up with all of your buddies, and to watch a certain number of you succeed the way you have, it's got to be so cool.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's amazing how many of them from Plaza Park that we raced against that you still see at racetracks. You know, Chad Baseflug, Corey, the Selzy brothers never necessarily raced against us. They were younger, but, you know, they pitted a couple spots away, and the Facino brothers, you know, raced against them, and Jake Hagopian in the micro ranks, you know, obviously has made a big name for himself. And so it's just funny, those same stories. We go back to, we played football in the pits with them, you know,
Yeah.
and we had Turkey Night race, you know, back in 2000.
Just
So,
another race to you guys. You know,
yeah,
you're at
we
Turkey
didn't
night,
care,
you know?
right? You know, so yeah, it was. It's kind of fun to have those memories.
How about you, Georgia?
I'm loving it. I love all the.
Well, you
the
were
stories
racing
coming.
too. I mean, you know what?
I was racing a
people
little
that
bit
don't know,
later
you
than
were.
that. You're talking about 2000.
Well, I know
was
later
like
than that, but
2
you-
years old.
Might
But
be
the
a little
point is,
older.
you've lived
Yeah.
this same
Yeah.
scenario.
Absolutely. I started in horses actually. So kind of
He
I
started
never
in
did that.
pigs.
Yeah,
You were horses.
So I did that
Good
for a little
enough.
while. And so when you talk about the mini sprint world or the go-kart world and stuff like that, that just brings back so many memories of just going to the track and all having so much fun. And then to now see, you know, like the Oliver Askew's and those people who have made it, and, you know, especially other people that have gone different paths with their careers, whether they're doing reporting or crew chiefing or doing that. It's just so neat to go back to those memories and then fast forward to today and see what they've done with their life. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same about you guys as well.
Did you feel like it was more difficult? Did you have a little tougher road as a girl?
I don't know. I made a lot of friends. I feel like I'm a pretty sociable person. I never really took the whole girl thing into a, you know, I had a lot of people mention Danica and things like that, but never really,
That had to piss you off.
it just never really felt any different to me. I figured when you put the helmet on and you're going out there, you want to be just as good as anyone else. And if they say, well, you're not going to be because you're a girl, then that's not a valid outlook on
Right,
anything
right.
anyway.
No,
So
I'm really glad to hear that answer. I mean, because it sounds to me like it really, that
It did
presence
not-
really wasn't on you. That's
it
great.
did not have really any effect on me whatsoever. And you can even go through that as motorsports in a whole, not just the driver. You always get someone looking down your back trying to see if you're going to make a mistake or something. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. I've said stupid stuff to Kody and Tanner both on the microphone before, but it's all a learning process. And I think as any driver, any reporter, any crew chief, any engineer, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to build and grow on them. So I think that's what everyone's trying to do, especially in this stage of their life specifically. So yeah, it didn't really have any effect on me.
That's great.
I love it.
So what's the future hold for you guys down there?
I hop on an airplane tomorrow morning and go back Thursday morning to my banking job at home and try to catch up on a week's worth of emails, pretty much. And
What do people at the bank say? Are they all asking? Are they all curious? Are they all watching?
Do they know?
Yeah,
Do they know?
they know. I keep it pretty quiet, but a lot of customers that I have, know me from growing up racing there, and have sent me text message over the last couple of days. They've seen things on Facebook. And even got asked by my boss why I even work there. Well, I'm not just in race cars all the time. So, but I love my job. I've enjoyed it. That was something, 2013 it was. Kody and I kind of had a rough off season and kind of lit a fire under Kody. And we've seen the success he's had since. And for me, it really made me not want to make a profession out of racing, at least at the time. So, went home, got a job. I work in the ag industry as a loan officer for Golden State Farm Credit, and enjoy that for 11 and a half months out of the year, and then am on an exercise bike the rest of the time trying to get ready to be him.
Well, not the rest of the time. Yeah, that's like 3 weeks ahead of time. Yeah, is what I was told. So,
Yeah.
But that's super cool to hear. So there's not a jealous bone in your body that he's had his success, but that you haven't been able to follow that path.
Yeah, no. That was a decision that I prayed about, and at the time made the decision, and I for whatever reason try to live my life without looking back, because if you're looking back, the only choice is regret, right? You could always only look back and think of what if I would have done something different. So it's the life that God set forward for me, and I've loved it. I have a great family, a great wife, and get to enjoy being home with them. So, it's fun, and we've enjoyed watching the success that Kody's had, and being able to cheer him on, and have had no part in it at all. So, it's fun to watch. I'm just as big of a fan as anybody else is.
Well, you certainly understand it, and that has to be a great connection with your brother. So that's very special. Kody, how about you, man? I mean, the future is bright for sure, and it's great to see you have that run there in a different style car. And I believe I read in there that you've had aspirations of driving an Indy car, and maybe that's the first step.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner talked about when I guess our paths were one and the same for a long time, and then they kind of split, and it was that winter of 2013, and he was just getting ready to graduate college and finishing his internship with what's now Golden State Farm Credit, and decided to make a career path with it. And I remember being at home and had been on the phone with every Silver Crown owner that ever there was, and got nothing but no. And Jordan and I had been married 2 years, and we had spent that winter in California trying to regroup, and got in the truck and headed for Indianapolis, and the only ride I had was a hand-me-down I got off of Tanner when he decided he was going to stay home in a dirt sprint car. So on that trip back was a leap of faith. It was something that that we had continued to pray about, and whatever the path was, I wasn't ready to stop there. And if it was one year and that was it, then at least I knew I put every last effort into it. And before that trip was over, I think we were in the middle of Texas and got I'm on my second round of calls after everyone had told me no once. I was going to make them do it again, and got connected with Tony DePalma, and that, well, how soon can you be there? I'm like, well, GPS says I'm going to be in Ohio by tomorrow afternoon, and I'll be there an hour after that, and
which is a great story, by the way, the leap of faith. Trust me, I'm very well aware of how those work, and sometimes you feel like you leaped off a cliff, but it's you got to trust the path, and you told me the story of how it went, and unbelievable.
Super fortunate, not only to have that faith and to believe in the path that God set out for us, but to have my wife Jordan alongside every step of the way, and that no matter what life was going to throw at us, we could do it together. And so that was, really something that's been great, and that kind of led us to restarting the Silver Crown Series with the DePalma family. And, if you talk about anyone being jealous, I'm more jealous of the path Tanner took sometimes when I find out, I'll call him when I'm on my way home from the race shop at 1 a.m. here, and it's 10 o'clock there, and he's not having to work still. I think, man, he was lots smarter than me,
He's in bed.
Exactly. And,
what are you doing, dude? It's 10 o'clock.
I'm late. I'm going to be late again tomorrow. And, but
I had to work till 5:30 today. Okay.
Exactly. The commute was horrible on the way home. So it's been really neat to see us both have success in the path that we were led on, and for me, I know there's no doubt in my mind if he wanted to still do it, he could, and if there was doubt in anyone else's mind, wait 5 laps into Raceway Park and he'll remind them too that he could still do it, no doubt. So. It's been a lot of fun these past few years, not only as we've grown through careers, but our families, and the time we get to spend together has really been special.
You're so well established now. Have you already secured a ride for 2021, or what's the thoughts there?
Shoot, and sorry, I totally forgot the question by the time I started rambling there. But as far as our future and the plans and going forward, and where I was headed with the big wind up there was. At some point along the way, I felt like I had done a lot to prove that I was worth going to the next level, and just couldn't quite break through. And there were guys that were breaking through that are very talented, but I didn't feel like they were quite as comfortable on the pavement as I was. And for a minute, it made me bitter, where you hate to, not that I wasn't happy for them, but I just hated that I felt like I was stuck. And finally got to a spot and kind of had a peace about it. And something I had to pray about a lot was that I'm super grateful to have had the opportunities I've had. And I finally had to get to that point where I was trying so hard to make it to the next level that I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And I was, you want to talk about the Clay Klepper days, right? So Tanner and I were at Grandma's house in the barn, and we would sneak in after dinner to try to watch Thursday Night Thunder because Thursday night was pit night. And we talked about at that point, we were kids, that if we could just make it there, how cool that would be. And here I was there, and I was still bitter about not being somewhere different. And I decided I need to change my attitude about that and enjoy where we were. And at the same time, I've had so many great opportunities to meet great people through racing that I've just kind of taken 1 year at a time and one opportunity at a time, and whatever race is next, to prepare the best I could for that. And so as far as 2020 or 2021, I'm going to kind of back up to 2020, was that I really wanted to help Nolan Racing win a Silver Crown title, but for me personally, I always enjoy running those races and enjoy running with that team, but I didn't necessarily have a Silver Crown championship as a real personal goal for me this year. I always want to do the best job I can for whoever I'm driving for, but one of my goals was to try to get into new things. And fortunate this year with Rico's help and a lot of people that come alongside us to try to get into those new things. I don't really know what 2021 holds, and I've been a one day at a time kind of guy.
We've been overly blessed with this year with us in business and a lot of other ways with my daughter's health and some things coming along. And one of the things was I called Kody, and, Jeff Matthews and I had been talking about this. Tony Stewart and I had been talking about it. Cindy Elliott with, Elliott's custom trailer sales and carts. Get that right. She'll murder me. But anyhow, we're talking about Kody. Kody, let's give him a chance. Let's find a way. Let's get him a chance in this thing, And at the end of the day, I called him up and I said, "Listen, this is what we want to do, and I've got you. So I'm your backstop. If you can put together whatever you can put together, I'll put the rest of it together, and I'll do it." So really, we kind of had a whole Indy Lights Freedom 100 thing in mind, and that pretty well got shut down
with the rest of the season.
With the rest of everything else, and but one of the things that Stewart kept talking about was we need to get him rear engine experience. He goes, that was the biggest thing with me coming from the sprint midget Silver Crown was the rear engine, the downforce, just the whole different. I think you figured that out this last weekend, and so it was really interesting how it all transpired. But one of the things that I absolutely admire with both of these guys, but definitely with Kody with this situation was, if I got a little bit to think about it, because of course I just plow him in. You want to go do this? We're going to do it. Let's do this.
Okay, deal.
No. I'm going to pray about this tonight. I'm going to talk to Jordan, then I'll get back to you. I'm like, okay. Because I admire that, because you know what? I mean, just exactly what he said. Most people were like, yeah, when? So it was cool, and it was very methodical in the way that you thought it through and wanted to do it. And I was glad you came back and said yes, because I was like, man, I really have worked my ass off to try to make this come together.
Yeah.
Here, so.
Yeah.
I thought it was real words of wisdom that you had over there, showing a lot of maturity, and saying that I just need to enjoy where I'm at. And I got caught up, racing with my son. He started when he was 13 years old, and we went. I mean, we're still going as hard as we know how to go hard, but for 12 years we chased that next level. I mean, it's just endless. You're relentless. You're on the phone calling sponsors. You're looking for rides. You're anything, anywhere, any way you can get it done, and it's your entire life. It consumes your life. And he was probably 25, 26, I'd say just a couple of years ago, and the light bulb finally went off for me. And I've been in the sport for a while, so I said, listen, man, here's the reality of it. And he knew. I said, the reality of it is, the window's closing. I mean, we're definitely on the far side of you getting, a pro ride. Certainly NASCAR, any development driver, all those deals are done. Unless you find the lucky sugar daddy, it's not happening. So, and he gets it. I said, listen, we've been really fortunate. We've been in the game for 12 years. We've never stopped. You've won, at the time, a couple of national championships. I said, at some point, you have to just stop and look where we're at and enjoy the ride. We've got to enjoy the ride. We might not ever get to what our ultimate goal was. It doesn't mean you ever stop trying, but we've got to enjoy the ride, because it's pretty cool what we've been able to do, as a father and a son. But just to stay in the game is quite an accomplishment. So hats off to you for having the maturity to figure that out. And now it does. It looks like some doors are opening. You just never know, right? If you quit, you know the answer. And if you're quitting because your goals or direction is in a different direction, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because it'll wear somebody down, and maybe your life just isn't good, doing what you're doing and chasing it. But if you can stay in the game, you just never know.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, we never did stop working at trying to get to the next level and to keep those goals in mind and work towards that. But I didn't want it to be where I was bitter about what I was doing, right, and having the opportunity to do. And there was, been some moments along the way, one of the first things that was really driving me is I did want to win a Silver Crown championship really bad, because I thought I could have won it, when I was younger, and just had, things happen like they do in racing and in life, and wanted to establish that and prove that. And, after the first one and racing with great people and enjoying enjoying those moments with people and seeing, some of the neatest things, about for me, about racing. I mean, obviously we do it for you're competitive, right? For the competition of it, and you want to win. But some of the neatest moments have been to get out and to see the joy on the team's faces, the car owners' faces, and to give somebody their first win and to be part of that. I mean, that makes it that much more special. And I mean, there have been moments where I considered, throughout my career, maybe the end of 2016, do I really want to be doing this way? Have I, enjoyed this level to where that's it? And, had a one-off. It's the last race of the year and not really sure. And drove for Brad and Tara Armstrong at Anderson. And it was the Tony Elliott Classic. We had just lost him that earlier that year, I think, or maybe the year before, but the first race they were having for him. And I remember the moment that we shared in Victory Lane. I thought, man, how cool it was to be part of that with them, and how much that meant to them and meant to me to be part of that. That was something that they kept me going for a little while and into the next level to try to do that with people. And so fortunate to have stayed in the game long enough to get the chance that we've had so far. And I don't know, there's no telling what the next day holds and what anything will come. But I'm thankful to have made it this far and to have enjoyed the opportunities I have.
Tanner, I'm going to work you back in here. We were actually teammates, or you and my son were teammates.
Yep.
I think it was 2015, maybe?
Sometime around there.
Right around there.
Yep.
So it was his first ever Silver Crown race. I think he qualified fourth and finished fourth, which we were super happy with. And I think it was your boyfriend that got in front of him. I think a number of the guys told him, because he had practiced his first day practicing, and they, had a light load of fuel in it, and then everybody told him, like, you got to be careful, like, this thing's going to be different when you get a load of fuel in it. So he checked up going into turn one, and everybody went, whoa, right by. Like, I was like, I didn't know I was supposed to go a little faster, so, and then he tried, the rest of the race trying to make it up, and you guys were gone out there. I think Coons hit the wall, he had brake failure or something, he hit the wall that night, but I bring that up because there's no bigger fan of yours than Mike Bowman.
Yeah.
And Mike Bowman and I, chatting, and it was Mike that put Robert in the car that night. And he would constantly say to me, like, you're going to go broke chasing this dream. It's almost impossible to get there unless you have a lot of money. And that's kind of what you're talking about, as well, Kody. I mean, the success is there. The talent is there. There's absolutely no question about it. You've beat the best there possibly is out there. But to get to the next level means you've got to reach in your pocket and somebody's got to write a big fat check, and that's the way it goes. And I remember Mike telling me, he said, man, I've called all the right people. I've done everything I can do to try and get Tanner in a ride. He said, I can't make it happen. And it's just a very difficult thing. And I'm with you. I mean, we were bitter watching guys go up, make it up to the next level. It's like, man, how does he get that ride whenever you beat him last year and and you do, you get better. And it's the competitive side of us as well, that we want to win. And it's a very difficult thing, and it's very easy to consume your life. So, again, hats off to you for keeping that in check. And like I said to you, Tanner, I mean, no bigger fan of yours than Mike Bowman. If he could put you in a cup car tomorrow, I think he would do it. So
yeah, no, that's what I love, Mike. You talk about racing with people and getting their first wins. That was what, Mike. They hadn't won a Silver Crown race yet when I started running for them, and they were, getting close to retiring. Brent, Elmore, the crew chief for a long time, had some health problems and was ready to kind of hang it up. And it was like the July race, I think, of 2012 or 13. And I was on the airplane and it was raining and we had lightning strikes and I was stuck at the Indianapolis airport and couldn't get off the plane. And we were going to miss practice because I wasn't going to make it there in time. And thankfully they rained the thing out. And so Mike, I talked him into it over the winter and said, well, just don't hang it up yet. Just give me one chance. And that was what Jason McCord told me. If you can win him one, you'll be his favorite driver forever. Yeah. And by God, that first night we got lucky enough to win one, and we've had the success.
Well, and he had good stuff.
Since.
I mean, I think he had a motor from Tony, if I'm not mistaken. But I think he had done his homework with Keith Coons, had helped him out with the shock package.
Yeah, that's what Larson actually had driven it. I was supposed to race in that July, and I think the July before Larson ran in it, and I don't remember if Kody ended up winning that night or something, and Larson ran fourth and I ran fifth, I remember following him and thinking, man, that thing doesn't look too bad. I'd like a shot in it, and yeah, got a chance, and yeah, we've had fun racing for the better part of a decade now. It seems like together. So
Were you driving for him? Was it Toledo maybe, and you went for a big ride?
yeah,
Was it a lapper? Was it a lapper or something? Did something stupid and straight away?
It was a lapper. CJ Leary. I'll never forget it.
Call him out.
I got the video.
It was a good one.
That was
yeah.
back in the,
I
that was
heard it was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
that was back in the day with CJ when he was just sorting it out.
No, I don't know if it was CJ as much as it was CJ Spotter, whoever it was that night.
That would probably been Chuck Larry.
Yeah, we were we were trying our best. You can't lay off one when you got Kody on the track, and he had snookered me on the start and was leading the thing, and we caught CJ and Tracy Hines, and we're trying to lap them, and I got Kody to pick a lane, and I went to the outside, and Tracy kind of rolled through, and I was coming through, and CJ obviously didn't know I was there, and took a pretty good ride. But yeah, no, we polished off that race car and got out the two.
Well, I
car that
remember
we've run ever
Mike
since.
was upset. He's like, "That's the best car I ever owned." Like he said, I flew somewhere, maybe Arizona or something. It was like a unique car, year, whatever it was. He said, "I wanted that car." He said, "And that one's junk. It's gone."
Yeah, that's what they always told me, that the two car was terrible and it wasn't as good and it was bad and it's the worst thing we'd ever seen. And I think 2 weeks later we unloaded it, and it was that first Carb Night Classic, and we lapped the whole field except for Kody and the thing. So
Yeah, it's horrible.
Horrible.
yeah,
Horrible.
terrible race car.
And that's the way Mike is. And I guarantee you to this day, if you ask him, he would say, that other car was better. It was still better.
I'll never forget. We came back the next May to run, and went up to the shop to try to get my feet or my seat kind of adjusted in the two car. And the 11 was still sitting there, motor hanging out of it, oil puddles still underneath it, and yeah, it was he didn't want to give
You
that
didn't
thing
want to give
up.
it away.
So
Great stuff. Hey, man, we appreciate you guys taking the time. We've had you in here for a little bit, so we appreciate you taking the time and coming by here. And congrats on all your success. It's super cool, man. And two stand-up, classy guys, man. Awesome.
No, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it very much. Thanks for letting us come in and chat for a bit.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Skinny. Be sure to check out all the latest sun and optical eyewear at fatheads.com. Special thanks to our sponsorship partners at Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts. This has been a production of Fathead Studios. Please remember to subscribe.